Hello and welcome to another edition of Another Book Review. This week I'll be reviewing Garth Risk Hallberg's novel City on Fire, talk very briefly about the author, go into a spoiler-free overview of the plot, talk about what I liked about the book, what I didn't like about the book, who I'd recommend the book to, and finish off with what I will be reading for next time. I'm also going to be doing a spoiler-full review of this, so if you have read it and want some deeper thoughts, I'll have that link in the comments section below. This video is going to be mostly, will be for people who haven't read the book or just who want my general thoughts on it. Garth Risk Hallberg is primarily known for this book. The book came out in 2015 and was something of a big deal in the publishing world due to its large advance, which I'll talk more about in the spoiler-full video. Go into deeper detail there, but he hasn't written anything else of note since then. He also has written novellas and has done some magazine writing work. I believe he's also was an editor for some pretty prestigious publications. But this is the work he's primarily known for. The book takes place between, I think, 1960 is the earliest date we have, all the way up to the early 2000s. I think the last date we have is 2003. But most of the book, I'd say 75 to 80% of it takes place in the year 1977. From January of that year all the way up to the blackouts in July. New York City famously had I think it's a day or 2 day blackout. Some period of time that there was no lights in large portions of the city, and that's where the book's title comes from, City on Fire, due to lighting of buildings and things of that nature around this time. And there are characters in the book who are arsonists. That also kind of plays into that little sense of the title. But the book primarily focuses around, I'd say, 10 or so characters whose stories interweave. Two of them are recently divorced couple. One is a financial service advisor, essentially. The other one, his former wife, is connected to an old money family. Her brother and her brother's live-in boyfriend are two other major characters. And there's two other characters, one of whom is the mistress of the financial advisor and her kind of best friend, who are both kind of slowly integrated into the burgeoning punk scene of the city. And those are the main characters. There's also a reporter character. There is a detective character, and there's the neighbor of the reporter becomes a large character as the book goes on. But those are some of the characters in the book. And the book really, the main mystery through the book is a girl is shot in a park, and I believe it's January 1st, so basically New Year's Eve, is shot and she's left in a coma. And the central mystery of the book is what happened to her, who shot her, why they shot her, and that carries through the majority of the book. And it's pretty sprawling. It goes backwards and forward in time. The book is probably best when it is focused on, when you have such a large cast of characters, some characters are going to be more interesting than others. I'd say there's two or three characters in the book who I did find really interesting. I think the book shines when those characters are at the forefront and less so when the other characters are the focus. The book also has interstitial chapters that are apart from the main narrative of the story. These may be things like one of the characters who's in the punk scene has a hand-stapled zine and you basically get what her zine looks like. So you get a zine within the book. You get a written letter by the father of one of the characters. You get one of the articles that the reporter is working on. So I thought those were actually really nice touches, and I think he does a good job of changing his voice in his writing when he takes on those when he takes on those different intertextual writings. I think the book is very long. I'll get into that when I get into things I didn't like as much, but I think the last part of the book, when the book is going over the 1 or 2 days where the city is blacked out, I think is the strongest part of the book. He writes, and when his writing is really clipped, kind of these really short chapters, you do get a sense of propulsion towards the end of the book, which I appreciated a lot. I think that, to me, was the most interesting part. I think on the con side, like I said, the book is very long. It's 900 pages long, and I feel that he could have cut a lot of it out. I think there is I wouldn't say that there are characters who are completely superfluous in the book, but I do think the backstories of a lot of the characters are pretty superfluous, and he could have done a better job, I think, of having an editor tell him, you know, this character is important. I don't know how important their backstory is to the plot of this book, and you're already at 900 pages. Do we really need this in here? I felt that way a couple times. There are some characters who are just, quite frankly, not interesting, and I think that he tries to do the conflict he tries to give them to make them more interesting is, in some areas, upset me, and I'll talk more about that in the spoilers full video. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I thought was really interesting. There are times there's not very, you do have the central mystery of the novel. There are times where that was able to kind of propel me forward, and there are just times where I think the book moves slower than it really should. And in part, I think, because of so many of the characters, you have to kind of keep moving back and forth. There are also plot points where it wasn't, things were not as explicit as I would have liked. There's also character motivations that felt not true in terms of feeling real, and I think that the book could have tied up some loose ends a little stronger. That, and I just, overall, I don't know really what the book is trying to say. I definitely enjoyed reading this more than I enjoyed reading 1Q84, just as another example of something I felt was long and also a bit of a slog. I think, while I think Murakami is maybe sentence a better writer, I felt because this was set in the real world and there was a sense of mystery at the center of it I wanted solved, and I liked some of these characters, I was able to keep moving forward relatively quickly given the length of the novel. But I also felt that there are times that the book kind of comes to a grind, and I would look and see, oh, well, I have 3 or 4 more pages in this chapter. I got to slog through this. And I think if the book had been more tightly focused on fewer characters, it wouldn't have felt so much of a slog. As far as people who should read this, I think if you like family drama, there's a lot of that in here. I like like I said, kind of the interstitial chapters where you had kind of the different media. I thought that was kind of cool. I thought that was a cool technique that he used. I think that he writes, I thought his writing on kind of the punk rock scene and the characters in that I thought was interesting. I think 1 or 2 or 3 of the characters are interesting. I just think they're spread a little thin given such large cast of characters. I think for people who shouldn't read this book, there's a lot of drugs in this book. There is, though it's not graphic, there's sexual violence. Trying to think if there's anything else that would be objectionable to people. I think those are the main things. There's one of the characters has an eating disorder. So if any of those things kind of you find unpleasant, you may not want to read this. I think overall, I think it's a very, very ambitious novel. I don't think it ultimately succeeds as strongly as it could have. I think that in hindsight, I think it would have been behooving Garth to maybe trim some of this down and really question the necessity of the amount of characters. Even some of the side characters who I was hoping to be more interesting are sometimes just there feeling like placeholders. They don't really have a ton of personality and they don't have a ton of agency. So that's City on Fire. That is my spoiler-free video. I'm not sure what I'll be reading next time. I'll keep you posted on that. Until next time, please feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Until next time, bye.